Splatoon has a lot of abilities. Most of them give really cool perks and are really fun to use. But recently I began thinking, what are the worst abilities throughout the series? And by worst, I don't mean in terms of balance or how useful they are in the meta. I mean in terms of design, how fun they are to play and play against, and how healthy they are for the game. And are they just a good idea in general? I looked through all the abilities and there's really only 5 that I think that are bad design. So, let's see what they are. To start off, these first 2 abilities aren't really offensive or anything, they're more or less just pointless. The first one is Tenacity. Basically, this ability automatically fills your special gauge when you have more downed teammates than the other team. And the more teammates that are down, the faster the gauge will charge up. So, this ability basically requires you to have teammates that are playing poorly and dying a lot. I mean, that is a very common thing to happen in solo queue, so Tenacity is really only somewhat useful in that environment. And if you're somehow getting value with it in a competitive setting, then your teammates are clearly playing wrong and should probably evaluate gameplay. But even then, Special Charge Up exists, which helps charge your special faster all the time. And it's a stackable ability too. So because of that, there's really no reason to use Tenacity, and I honestly don't know why the ability came back in Splatoon 3, let alone Splatoon 2. Next up is Ability Doubler, which doubles the effect of the sub-abilities on your shirt. This may seem quite useful, but did you know that you're actually getting less value than if you were to use a different ability for the main slot? Let's say you have 3 subs of Quick Respawn on your shirt. Each sub is worth 3 ability points, or AP, so the total will add up to 9 AP. When you attach Ability Doubler, each sub will then be worth 6 AP, making the total 18. However, a main of any stackable ability is worth 10 AP, so that plus the 3 from each sub actually adds up to 19. So you're literally using 1 less AP by running Ability Doubler. So you're better off just running any other main ability. Plus, Ability Doubler can only be used on the Splatfest tee, and even then, it only costs 6 chunks to change the main ability as opposed to 45 on any other piece of gear. So, if you still want more of whatever abilities you have on your shirt, just put one of them on the main slot or anywhere on your headgear and shoes. Okay, now we're going to get into abilities that I think are truly bad for the game, and just not fun at all to play against. These first 2 thankfully were only in Splatoon 1. The first one is none other than Damage Up. Pretty self-explanatory, it increases your weapon's damage output. The problem is that it could be stacked so much that stepping into enemy ink for just 1 frame would decrease weapons shot to kill if the user was running enough of it. With this ability you could make, say, Bamboozler a 1-shot, Splattershot Pro a 2-shot, Splash-O-Matic a 3-shot. You wouldn't even need a full charge to kill with a charger. This ability also came back in Splatoon 2, under the form of main power-up, but would only apply to certain weapons. It still had the less shots to kill problem, and pretty much killed off the dually class. Since they rolled enemy ink a lot, it would just instantly die to a bamboo, or 2-shot by a Splattershot Pro, so on and so forth. And that really sucked because dualies are definitely one of the most fun classes in the series. Damage up is honestly just a really unhealthy way to make a weapon stronger. But you want to know what's just as bad? How about an ability that increases shots to kill? That's right, Splatoon 1 also had Defense Up, which would reduce the damage you receive from opponents. With this ability, someone using Splattershot would have to land 4 shots to kill you, or Splash-O-Matic 5 shots to kill you. Phasing anyone with this ability would just make your weapon feel worse, and I think that's terrible design. And you know, it's also weird how this was in the same game along with Damage Up. So the 2 abilities just kinda clashed in that game. Either way, both are so poorly designed and I'm glad they never returned. Yeah, I know main power-up was in Splatoon 2, but aside from the damage up effect on certain weapons, I think the other buffs it gave were fine, so I ultimately don't count it. Now, the last ability may not be as bad as damage up or defense up design-wise, but it is definitely my least favorite ability in the series personally. And at least damage and defense up didn't return to Splatoon 3. This one did. It's Respawn Punisher. I despise this ability. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of bias here because I'm a pretty big fan of Quick Respawn. Heck, I even use it on weapons where it's probably not optimal. I just like playing aggressively, and as a result I die a lot more, so I like to get back into the action as fast as possible. Respawn Punisher, however, does the opposite. It increases the respawn time and depletes more of the special gauge for whoever the user splatted and the user themselves if they get splatted, and the effect is actually stronger on the latter. So in order to get as much value from the ability as possible, you have to play very passively, ideally with a backline weapon since those weapons are the least likely to die. Thankfully, these factors hold the ability back to just being situational, but it's still really annoying dying and having to wait longer than usual to get back into the game, especially since Splatoon 3 has so many maps that favor backlines. And I don't even like going against people using this ability on frontline weapons where the ability is worse. Even putting my QR bias aside, I think an ability that deliberately prevents you from playing the game is just bad design in general. I know the ability Haunt also has this effect, but you need to kill the opponent that splatted you initially in order for it to work, and the effect won't happen to you if you die, so it's a bit more tolerable. I think the only reason the devs added this ability was because they didn't want a repeat of Splatoon 1's endgame QR meta. But I think nerfing QR so that it only works if you didn't get a kill before dying was good enough. Adding an ability that keeps you dead for longer just feels overkill, and going against it is just miserable. If there were ever a time where this ability became really good or even meta, I can tell it would make the game feel egregious to play, and I would even contemplate quitting. That's how much I hate the ability. So yeah, those were what I think are the 5 most poorly designed abilities in the series. I think every other ability is pretty good, and while there were some abilities in Splatoon 1 that also looked kind of pointless, they did get reworked or combined in Splatoon 2 and 3, and I think are still quite useful. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace!